Alright, what's going on everyone? In today's video, I'm going to be going over how I would personally do balance changes for Clash Royale, because the game feels pretty unbalanced right now. This is the second season straight where we've had some crazy usage rates, where last season Furnace got up to a 98% usage rate before they nerfed it, and this season Vines is up at about a 70% usage rate right now, so the game just feels really imbalanced. So I'm just going over what changes I would personally make. And on screen, I have the top 10 deck finishes from last season, just to give a little bit perspective on the type of meta we're in currently. Alright, and the first card I want to take a look at is the newest card, Vines. This just released, but this season is the most problematic card. It just seems like it can do everything. Freeze, pull units to the ground, does more damage than arrows. So for that reason, I have it getting a pretty big nerf to put it more in line with other smaller spells. So the first thing I have for it is nerfing the duration, the freeze duration, from 2.5 to 2 seconds. So this will make it feel less oppressive when you're playing against it. And then because the duration is going from 2.5 to 2 seconds, the damage per second I'm actually having increase 162 to 175. So that's an 8% buff, but that's only because the duration is going down. So when you look at the total damage, it's going to go from 405 to 350. So it's actually a net negative 16% nerf. So the damage is actually going down. I would also like to add that all of these numbers and everything like that is just going to be the tournament standard level. Essentially what these changes are going to aim to do is bring the Vine spell a little bit closer in power level to the other small spells like the arrows. So for example, the damage is going to be just slightly underneath the arrows damage. It's still going to kill everything that can die to a log. It can still kill Firecracker. It's just a little bit less damage to make it a little bit less strong. The freeze not going to last as long, gives your opponent more counterplay, and just things like that. It's a pretty big nerf overall, but I think it's definitely needed because the Vines are really overpowered right now. They definitely should have been worked on a lot more before they were released. Next up, probably the best win condition in the game right now. It finished as the #1 deck last season. Evo Gob Giant is just pretty much everywhere, so I think it's really deserving of a nerf. I don't want to nerf it to the ground, but what I would like to look at is the HP. I would give it a -5% hit point nerf. I think it will just make it a lot more consistent to kill and feel a lot less punishing when your opponent just plays it at the bridge when they know you're a little bit low on elixir. And the other thing is, for the Evo Gob Giant, I want to look at the activation percentage. So what that means is when the Evo Gob Giant hits 50%, it starts spawning the goblins behind it as its special ability. So I want to change the activation percentage from 50 to 40%, just to make it a little bit less powerful and just feel like it doesn't just run straight through all your defense every single time. I think these changes will definitely be a pretty big nerf to the Goblin Giant, but I think it will definitely still be viable because a lot of the Goblin Giant's strength comes from its supporting units like the Goblin Machine and the Prince and even the Dark Prince now because it just got a buff. So I think it will still definitely be viable with Sparky. There's so many different supporting cards that really make the Gob Giant as strong as it is. It doesn't need to be the strongest card to be successful in the meta. Now I want to take a look at Graveyard, and the challenging thing with Graveyard is it's the only card in the game with true RNG. So no matter what we do with it, as it currently stands, there's always going to be a little bit of luck involved. And I think if I was really working on changes for Supercell, I would try to rework the Graveyard and fix some of the RNG and make it more consistent. But that would take a lot of playtesting. I'm not exactly sure how they would fix it. For those reasons, I'm just going to give what I would think would be a decent nerf, is I would change the duration from 9 to 8 seconds. And the reason this is a nerf is it's gonna cause the skeletons to spawn quicker, which makes it easier to play a spell and kill all the skeletons at once rather than playing like a log and then still having like the second half of the graveyard to deal with. So overall you'll be able to get more skeletons in one go, making it a little bit easier. The next card I want to take a look at is the Prince, and the Prince is a little tricky to balance because there's not a whole lot of things you can actually change, and when you do change those things, he either becomes really bad or really good. So what I have is hit speed going from 1.4 to 1.5 seconds, and the minimum distance he needs to travel to charge up his attack going from 1.5 tiles to 2 tiles. And this might not seem like a really big nerf, but it is actually a pretty decent nerf. The Prince might actually need a couple of compensation buffs because of it. The 1.5 to 2 tiles is actually just reverting the buff that the Prince got a while ago, when the Prince wasn't doing so great. So like I said, the Prince is usually either pretty bad or really good. It's kind of hard to balance him because the only things you can really change are his damage and the time it takes for him to charge up his shot. I think he will still be able to have a niche in beatdown decks, but if anyone else has any ideas how they would nerf the Prince, let me know. I just feel like he's kind of this polarizing card where he's either really bad or way too good. Not really sure what else you can do with him. Now I'm going to be taking a look at the Berserker, and I think just looking at the Berserker, I don't think a whole lot of people would think she needs a whole lot of changes. I think that's mostly because we're in such a heavy beatdown meta. Most people don't realize how good she is because she's mostly used in cycle decks. So I think if we were in more of a cycle deck meta, Berserker would be a lot stronger. I think more people would be thinking she needs a nerf. So the nerf I have for her is I'm going to be subtracting 5% of her HP and then giving her a 2% damage buff. And these definitely aren't big changes, but I think it would just bring the Berserker's power level down just a little bit because I think she does get a little bit too much value for just 2 elixir, and she outshines like a other 2 elixir mini tank like the Ice Golem. Now I debated about putting the balloon on this list because I think the balloon overall is pretty balanced. It's just that death damage can be pretty frustrating to play against, and it feels like it just always gets value. So I'm just going to be giving it a 5% death damage reduction. It's not a whole lot, it just makes it a little bit less annoying, especially when you defend the balloon very super good time and time again, but the minor and like the balloon death damage keeps adding up on your tower. It can just be really frustrating to play against, so I would definitely change the death damage. It's just a small change, but I think it would just keep rewarding players for playing good defense against the balloon and not having to take so much death damage on their tower throughout the entire game. I just want to add a quick disclaimer that all of these are of course my opinion, and I am basing this off of mostly ranked, specifically Ultimate Champion, top 10k ranked. These are just the type of meta I'm seeing, and the cards I think need nerf. It's completely okay if you disagree or if you think some cards need buffs or nerfs. I'm mainly focusing on nerfs this video because I think a lot more cards need nerfs than cards need buffs. If you guys want to see buffs, I can do a separate video just for that. Alright, and the very last card I want to take a look at for my video on what cards I would nerf is the Goblin Machine. This card is just really frustrating to play against. It always seems to get rockets onto your tower, even when it's 1 HP. It just seems, and you're about to kill it, it just launches one more rocket at you. So what I want to look at is the rocket specifically, and the rocket range. I want to go from 2.5 to 5 tiles. So that's the current range, and I want it to go to 2 to 4.5. So what this will do is decrease the minimum, so it will give a slight buff to the Goblin Machine that he can shoot anything within 2 tiles of him instead of 2.5. So give him a little bit less of a dead zone, but his max tile range will go from 5 to 4.5, so he won't be able to shoot your tower or your troops from as far as away like he used to. Now I want to take a look at Rage. Rage is just really frustrating to deal with. A lot of people think it needs a nerf. So what I'm going to do to Rage is change the duration from 4.5 to 4 seconds. And I'm going to just be changing the crown tower damage, not the damage it does to troops, just the damage it does to towers, from 54 to 51. It's a really small change, but it really bothers me now that it does more damage than the log does at tournament standard. because the log keeps getting crown tower damage nerfs. It keeps bringing it down, and now the rage does more damage, which I don't think it should do. So for that reason, I'm going to be nerfing the crown tower damage just a little bit. And the last card I want to look at for today's video is the Furnace. The Furnace is still one of the highest usage rate cards in the game right now. Even though it did get nerfed last season, it's still very good. So I think something I would look at doing is decreasing the range from 6 to 5.5. And just to give a little perspective, this will decrease the range from Musketeer range to Wizard range, basically. And that might not sound like a huge difference, but what this allows it to do is it allows it to be in range of cannon, so cannon can actually shoot back at the Furnace, making it a lot more easy to kill. So I think Furnace definitely deserves another nerf. I think maybe this might be a bit too big of a nerf, but I definitely wouldn't mind seeing it get a little bit of a range nerf, because it's just so frustrating to deal with. And I definitely think it needs at least some kind of change. Let me know down below in the comments what you agree with, disagree with. This video was pretty much just going over nerfs, because I think a lot more cards need nerfs in the meta right now than buffs. I think once we focus on nerfing a couple of the overpowered cards or the boosted cards right now, then we can start looking at buffs for under-leveled or underpowered cards. So if this video does good, I'll make a video of cards I would think need buffs or maybe even reworks. If you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like and even subscribing for more content. I post ranking videos, and I also post a lot of gameplay of myself in top 10k ranked. So if you're interested in that, please leave a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.